Hello and welcome to the How Long to Beat podcast. I'm Rick and I'm joined by Alex.
Hello.
And Paula.
Paula des.
And for one night only, we're also joined by community member knalb, aka Tom. Welcome to the podcast, Tom. How you doing?
Oh, I'm fine. How's you lot?
Oh, hey, I'm just Peach here. How are you?
Yeah, fine. Yeah, all right. Ooh.
So this week on the podcast, we're going to be discussing... No, I'm going to stop.
Dear Lord.
Oh, sweet
I don't know if I
Jesus.
could.
Oh, Lordy. I'm just going to confuse everyone.
Right.
First time listeners are like, who the hell are all these people?
Why do they sound like fake Scottish people?
Did I see them in Shrek 2? I can't remember.
Oh, yeah,
Oh.
like Americans doing Scottish accents. and all
right.
that.
So, as is normal for a community episode of the podcast, we're going to ask some questions of Tom and his gaming background and all those beautiful things. We're going to talk about what he's beaten and retired and what we are all playing at the moment. And then we're going to go into a topic picked by Tom. We're going to go into a round of Guess the Game, where the aim of the game is to guess the guest's game, in this case, Tom's game. And we are going to play the final round of this, the final game of this round of the newest format of How Long to Beat
How Long to Beat
the Game.
The game.
game.
Oh, I missed that completely.
It's okay. We
Yeah,
often
one
do.
shot. That's the thing. You blew it.
Oh, well, okay. I could just shout it. Taskmaster! That'll do.
Oh, dear.
Okay. So if you can't tell, listeners, I am extremely sick right now. Not COVID-y, but please ignore my weird sounding voice. Interview time. Yeah.
You got podcast flu, basically. Expect Paula to have it next week.
Yeah, Rick was me last week. I'm Rick this week, and now Paula will probably be sick next week. Although, Paula, you're in your summer, right?
Yeah, I'm on summer right now.
So you probably
Oh.
won't get sick.
Spring? Oh, I
Spring.
wouldn't get sick, but I'm allergic, so that's gonna
Oh.
be fun.
Oh, you gotta get the hay fever here.
Yeehaw. All right, well, enough dilly-dallying. All right, Tom, so, the one we always start with, though we already kind of know from our lovely introduction, what part of the world do you live in, and how does that affect your gaming?
Well, as you probably can tell by me messing around with bloody accents, I come from the great island of Blighty, like Rick does. So, it's not that hard to get games around here, basically. Unless it's everything's just quite easy to get. You just have to pop down to the locals or just go to Amazon. Although, I will admit, it was difficult to get stuff out in the right in the countryside in Wales when I went down there. But for the most part, I live like quite central, quite close to London, and everything's quite easy to get hold of. So I can get anything basically.
And it's hard to believe you're our first Brit that we've had on from the community. By now we've had Chileans and Canadians.
It took us almost 100 episodes before I showed up. We're just hiding. You don't know. We are just hiding around all the places. We just pop up when you don't expect us.
It is kind of wild. We're almost at 100. Oh my god. Okay. Anyway, awesome. Yeah. So that's fair. I mean, we've learned a lot from Rick at this point, so we know what's up there. But what's your kind of gaming background and preference? Curious.
Ooh. Well, let's see. The first console I ever owned was a. Yeah, this one lasted long. The Sega Saturn.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah,
Womp womp.
That's quite the one to get in on.
yeah, it was. Oh boy. So yeah, basically, I chose that one because I was given the option when I was like, junior, to get one. Went to like this an old old electronic shop called Comets. It's gone now.
Rip.
But yeah, we now only got Curry's PC Worlds.
Yeah, and they're only just about there.
Yeah, they're just holding on. They're clinging on for dear life. Everything else has just gone to Amazon. But yeah, they had like those big free game screens. Basically, they had like consoles which each one could play. They had the PlayStation, Nintendo 64, and the Sega Saturn up. And Sonic looked the coolest to me, so I got the Sega Saturn.
Did Sonic ever actually come to the Saturn? Wasn't it like Extreme that never got released, or am I making that up?
No, you know, the only real Sega Saturn game for Sonic was Sonic 3D. But what was available was a collection of games called Sonic Jam, which came with Sonic, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, and Sonic and Knuckles. And that basically pulled me into the Sega system, basically. But I basically for that long kept to the Sega systems. I went from Saturn to the Dreamcast until that died, and then moved to the PlayStations. So I've been mostly PlayStation, but then about give me a second. I say into my teenage times, I started transitioning to PC, and now I mainly play on the PC.
Nice. From the Saturn to the PC.
Yeah.
It's a unique path. So, okay, then I guess you kind of have maybe sort of answered this already, but like what got you into gaming then? Like was it the Saturn or had you was there memories before that?
I do remember a mate having a Nintendo 64 and playing GoldenEye with him. So that I can't remember if that was before or after, but I do remember having good fun with GoldenEye.
Nice.
I hope after, because if it was before and you still picked the Saturn, that raises some questions.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's
I suppose
I could blame my sister because she needed a console as well. Yeah,
it does
it's not
happen
my
that
fault
way.
we got the Saturn. I wasn't the one who wanted the Sega Saturn. It was her.
Right, okay.
I got bounced into a Wii by my younger brother, so I can actually sympathise with that. Well, I suppose corollary to that, like, what was your favourite Saturn game? Because I don't really know that library at all.
Yeah.
This one. No, I know what it is, and I know the name, but the problem is I never fully played it. What happened was I got this game as a demo, and I never bought the game, and I'm so wished to actually I did. It was Panzer Dragoon Saga. It was yeah, it was so good that I remember it. It was a turn-based RPG where you're on a dragon, and the dragon you had to position the dragon in specific locations. And I remember this giant spider boss, which gave me a good hit around before I understood what I was doing. And the game completely compelled me, and I loved that game. The demo disc, it was basically the first disc of the whole game, but you had to pay for the rest of them. So I got to the end of the first disc, and I could not proceed because I couldn't get any further. By the point that I actually got through to the end of the disc, the Saturn had died. Yeah. And if I want to get Panzer Dragoon Saga, it's now going to cost me 2K. So
Jesus.
no.
Yeah. They printed almost no copies in the West.
No,
it's a
they
whole
didn't.
thing.
It was, yeah, I remember it came with the Sega Saturn magazine. I played it through and I loved it, but I never got around to buying it. So.
I have heard it's really good. That one's on my list for potential plays because I've heard good things about it. But damn.
Yeah.
And if anyone's listening and wants to know a bit more, there is a really good Mac McVussels video about what happened in terms of development and release and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
nice.
paste it into the URL there. So.
Nice. Okay, so then because you talked about you're kind of a PC gamer now, but what's your like console of choice and why? And you can include PC in that if you want.
Well, if we're going to conclude PC, it's a PC because you can basically reconfigure it. You can do modding on it, and you just change everything which you need. And also, because Steam is so bloody cheap, just Steam, and then you also got Epic. You get free games every week. So I was I'm getting a lot here, so why not just keep playing with that? But if we are going to be specific in terms of consoles, I think the PlayStation 2 is the one which I played the most. It is the one which I have the most memories from, so that is probably my go-to for old systems. And after the Sega basically died out, I moved to the Sony section. I've always kept with the Sony from the PlayStation 2 onwards. I have only owned the 360. I've never owned any more of the Microsoft consoles. I get a lot of the. I have the Wii U and I've still got a Switch, but I don't have the Wii. Well, my parents got the Wii. I got the GameCube as well, but Nintendo is a bit up and down for if I get them or not.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because I think the majority. Oh my god, my brain is foggy right now. I was about to say I think the majority of us we were very Nintendo-y kind of kids. So yeah, it's always fun seeing from the other side of the gaming world because I definitely grew up in that like 360 era, right?
Well, Well, yeah, but at the same time, you gotta remember that Sega does what Nintendo don't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Man, even I remember. I was like a
Yeah.
little baby, and I still remember some of those commercials.
I don't remember any of them.
Sick. Okay. Now, all right. You gotta tell us what's the story behind your username, because you kind of blew our minds a little bit before we started.
Oh, I thought everyone knew that, but I guess you don't. Okay, so for those who are not in the know, the mysterious meaning for my name is blank backwards. It's just blank backwards. So how I got
Straight up, like honestly, like you said that, I was like, it's like a weight drop. You know, you're just like, oh. At that moment, I was like,
Mhm.
shit. Okay, obviously
Yeah.
that's what it is. But goddamn, I never even in a million years. I don't know why. I never ever clocked that.
But now you can't unsee it.
yeah, now it's like,
No,
oh
I
yeah, of
can't.
course that's what
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, so it also that causes the issue of how do you actually say it? Because if you want to
Mhm.
speak in proper English, KN goes into na, so it'd be knalb. But because blank, you have the K at the end when you actually speak blank. It means that you should start with knalb. So
figure.
you can say whichever you want, yeah. But I guess the best way of saying is my friends call me knalb, but my enemies call me knalb. The K is together.
Nice.
But yeah, in terms of making that name, I guess I think the obvious is TLDR, laziness. But let's go through the whole the whole thing which I made it. So this name came about due to World of Warcraft. I actually started playing that as a dwarf paladin called Fraser. The reason I called him Fraser because I was a young preteen who couldn't spell Thrasher properly, so I spelt it TH without the H at the end. So it came Fraser, and I just stayed with that for that lot until I got bored with the paladin. After that, I just basically made a series of re-rolls in the alliance. I just gave them just random names. Specifically, I called my druid, elf druid, a blank because it was my second one. I had no name. I was just like, blank. And then my idea of actually doing horde names was just to reverse them. So yeah, I have also just by those names. Like, I also have a dwarf, no, a orc warrior called Rezart, because yeah, that's blank backwards. No, that's Fraser backwards. In the end, though, knalb was my undead warlock. I actually went to the there's like the forums for these servers. It was like I think it was Thunderhawk I used to be on, and I asked the question. I want to reroll. I have all these characters. Who should I play? And the warlock came on top, and basically I've just stuck with knalb since then. I do have other names I go by, but I'm mostly known by knalb, so I just keep with it.
Nice.
Before we crack on from that as well, I would also like to know what the situation is with your profile picture on Discord, because it is a little bit terrifying.
Okay, that is NL from One Piece. People probably know what I done from One Piece, but basically, NL is a Logia type devil fruit user. He's basically made of fully electric. He then meets the main character Luffy, who's made of rubber, and he's expecting to just go not be hit by him because he just turns to electric, but because Luffy's made of rubber, he just punches him and he just hits him, and he's just completely shocked by what's happened.
Nice.
Okay.
I always love hearing like internet stories and shit, just because it's like it's such a, I don't know, it's such a modern thing, right? Like, and nowadays too, like I guess I don't know, kids these days hardly even have usernames. It's just their freaking names online.
Oh, my mate, yeah, he's about the same age as me, so in our mid-30s. His is just his initials. Kakaoa, so Kakaoa.
Nice. I mean, I can't talk much. I have a pretty lazy username, but whatever.
Oh, well, Alex5101. Oh,
Blame
I'm so
Neopets. Sick. Well, why don't we roll along then into our into your beatings? So yeah, what have you beaten? You've beaten quite a few little things here.
Well, that's about a month. So you lot just do a week, but because I'm only here for one day, I might as well just do a month.
Makes sense.
So we'll go backwards then. So the first game I beat, so Doom 2016 for the Triple Creature Halloween feature.
Nice.
Right, give me a sec. Yeah. So Yeah, I have actually been going through most of the Doom games beforehand, usually when it comes up in the Halloween features. And well, this one came up and I just played it, and yeah, really good actually. It basically it moves away from the the slow horror movements of the Doom 3 and just goes back to the old style, fast, in your face action. It especially makes you want to actually keep moving. Really good, strong shooting. It has pacing issues though. I felt like you
Yeah.
get the weapons far too early, especially the upgraded versions, because you get the shotgun and the super shotgun in the first half, and it's like, what's the point of the shotgun when you've got the super shotgun? Same with the plasma cannon, and you get the gauze cannon. So it's just bad pacing, I thought, because there's also the issue of the bosses. They all come at the end, and you've basically seen all the enemies before you even get to the halfway point. So it needed to basically stretch out certain things and just move them about just so that things aren't getting stale. I felt
It's something the sequel does a bit better in that it gives you specific reasons to use each one. So
Yeah.
with the shotguns, for example, you get the automatic shotgun attachment that actually has a use case for a specific enemy. They both kind of have pacing issues, though. I think they are both a little bit overly long, specifically, and I think that's more so a criticism of the first game than the second. But you feel it in both.
Yeah, I've heard other things about the second one, especially with certain enemies not really being dealt with properly for a shooter. Like you have there's like this shield person, and I guess it's just difficult to deal with as a gun user because you're always behind.
The Marauder, is it you mean? The Marauder's like
Yeah,
a
yeah.
mini boss that fucking sucks, but I do get what they were doing with it. And actually, having played some of the DLCs do make him make a lot more sense.
Ah, okay, I see. Yeah, Doom. Yeah, I enjoyed it for what it was. It's a great shooter. Few pacing issues, but yeah, I would recommend it for anyone. I'm surprised by how little people play that. Most people in the triple feature was playing Majora's Mask, which, well, to be fair, that's a good game if I understand. But yeah,
Yeah, I'm not too surprised. Majora's Mask is just, it's Zelda, right? Like, they just, everyone gloms on to good old Zelda. But you're right.
I think we've done a lot of Zelda. We've done Ocarina of
Yeah.
Time. We've done
Wind Waker.
Yep, we've done A Link to the Past, which came out in September as well. So yeah, we've done quite a few of them. And I guess no one actually voted for it, but we could have done Breath of the Wild. That was quite big when it came out.
Oh,
Well,
yeah, we've never done Breath of the Wild.
No,
That's
Breath of the
crazy.
Wild's not being one of them.
I guess because everyone's, like, pretty much played at this point.
Yeah, well,
True.
it just didn't win the Game of the Month nominations basically when it came out. It basically came at the same time Horizon Zero Dawn. I put that down and that won in the end. So, well.
Nice. Tell me about Elden Ring, because I still haven't picked this back up again yet. But
Oh yeah, Elden Ring. Oh, okay. I'm gonna say this. I loved the Elden Ring for what it was. It was a fantastic open world. They did a lot of great things with the game, but I think it's one of the weakest Soulsborne games out there. Might be quite controversial. I don't know if it is or not, but one of the big things about the Soulsborne games are the bosses, and I feel that they weren't handled as good as they can. Certain ones are just they don't seem fair, and certain things just don't seem very well balanced. Like the mimic, that can be really overpowered. I'm gonna get through. I'll talk about Millennia in a sec, and there's a few other things I want to have issues with. Like I understand they do reuse a lot of bosses. Someone pointed it out on YouTube. I think it was the Democracy. He mentioned that in the game there were only 9 unique bosses for a game of over like 200 bosses in it. That is quite low. Yeah, certain ones make sense that they get repeated. Certain ones like why, like certain things should not. The whole thing I think in terms of the bosses. Yeah, sure. You have to repeat them in these games because it's a huge open world. You can't have new assets each time, and that's fine. But I think that main boss line should be sacred. They should stay in the main boss section and not be anywhere else. Unfortunately, I found Godfrey in a goal, which you don't really need to do. just so you know, I did the whole thing. I did every single small mini dungeon, every single legacy dungeon, every optional area. Well, if anyone was actually paying attention to the Game of Month thread, I kept that going for about 6 months. Just dumping what I did each week on there. But
Damn.
yeah, yeah. Well, check on the Discord, and you actually just see me talking back and forth with I can't remember his name actually, unfortunately, Caricus. I can't remember. I'll have to double check that. But yeah, it's like that's just those bosses should be kept sacred, stuck into the just main quest line. Sure, repeat the bosses outside of the main quest line, but I shouldn't be finding Godfrey in a ghoul. I should not be finding Astel in a small cave outside. Then there's also the balancing issues. So 2 things. One, there are certain bosses which are just too hard by themselves, and there's also certain summons which are just too OP. And they kind of clash in together as one item. I want to actually discuss Melania. So just so spoilers, this is the big secret boss at the end of a big legacy dungeon. It's basically every Soul Spawns game has one of these, and this is the one for Elden Ring. She has a move called Waterfowl Dance. And the Waterfowl Dance is extremely difficult to actually dodge. And it's difficult to also, if you immediately use it to actually stop her, so it's half the time you have to figure out how to actually get away with less amount of damage, which she does. But the thing is, if you she uses the Waterfowl Dance and you get hit by every single move, you're dead. Doesn't matter, you're dead. It's extremely powerful move. It's a combo move, and she just keeps doing it for a long amount of time, and just getting away from it is just too difficult. It shouldn't. For me, the only way, the thing I would say to actually make it weaker would be to actually remove the auto lock, turn it into like the Dance of the Boreal Valleys dance move, where she actually spins around and does the whole area. She just wanders off somewhere, and that makes it a bit more easy to handle. It should have been something like that. You just need to actually get away from it as much as possible. Maybe it could actually expand and make it a bit better that way. But going back to the other side of that, though, there is a summon. You might know this one, Alex, if you've done this one. The Mimic.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I've gotten to it yet, but I know what you're talking about. I just feel like I've seen so much stuff for this game already.
Yeah. Well, it's huge. It's there was like 60 different videos I watched on YouTube for it, so yeah, I've seen a lot. But the Mimic, way too overpowered. So going back to that Waterfowl Dance, the Mimic, when I actually pulled at the end, I couldn't deal with it. I had to call the Mimic in for me to help, and it was able to tank the whole of the Waterfowl Dance, which would kill me 1 hit. That's too powerful, and it was also able to interrupt it a second time. So the Mimic is too powerful, I thought, for what it was. I don't think the idea that summons are bad. I think they're a good introduction. They are a smart way of introducing easy mode into the boss encounters. But I also feel that they should have had a cost. I feel like, especially something like the Mimic, should have been like a cost from like one of the Rune Knocks. So it means there's a bit more of a cost for you to actually go through. Still, saying all that though, I still heavily recommend Elden Ring. It is a beautiful open world. There's a lot to do. It does not hold your hand. It just tells you, here's the world, fuck off, basically. Nice. And very much like the Breath of the Wild, in that sense, where here's an open world, do what you will. I probably should have actually dealt with it the same way I did Breath of the Wild, where I just basically, if I found something, I went in there. I did not go out looking for everything. In this game, I went to look for everything because I wanted to fight every single boss, but a lot of them were repeats, so I didn't need to worry about that. And there are some fantastic areas. How far have you got into this, Alex?
Not very far. Like I got, I'm basically, I think I beat that first. Like I'm in like the castle. Like it's just like the first few hours essentially.
Wow, you have got a long way to go. Just so you know, it took me 156 hours to complete this game. It is
that's
massive.
what I'm a little terrified of.
Well, I would recommend don't do what I did. Don't go for every single cave. Just if you find a cave, go in. Don't go out looking for them.
Yeah, that's my plan.
Yeah. There are some fantastic mini dungeons there. Some of them I don't want to spoil now because I know that you're halfway through the game, but still, some of them are really good. And there's also the legacy dungeons. There's one legacy dungeon which I think was not completed. You will know of it later. The Red Main Castle, because I'm just gonna spoil this because it's not much of a spoiler. But the Red Main Castle, it has sections where you could look at it and you think, oh, here's a shortcut I can open up later, and you actually get to it, and you find out, no, you can't. So that doesn't feel finished to me. I think that's the only legacy dungeon which I was disappointed in. I heavily recommend doing the underground sections because the underground sections were my favorite part of the whole game. And my favorite boss is another secret boss, Dragon Lord Plactasm. I think, it's either between that, the Dragon Lord, or Midas from Dark Souls 3. Those two are my favorite dragon bosses which I've ever fought. Both are fantastic little bosses to fight, and they actually do give it. They feel fair, and that is all I want. They're fair but tough.
Nice.
But yeah, I would still, if you're still playing for Elden Ring, I still recommend going through it. Just don't overdo it. I would recommend doing all legacy dungeons. You can miss a lot of the minor dungeons though.
It sounds like quite the adventure.
It is huge. It's massive. There's a lot to see, and being the Soulsborne games, it has a lot of obscure little lore references in it. It's beautifully done, basically.
Nice.
I just wish it was better balanced.
Oh, fair. I'm curious about. So you're playing the original Borderlands?
Oh, I've completed that. Yeah. Basically, I'm just trying to go through all the Game of the Month games which I've got, and Borderlands was basically what I randomized and chose afterwards. I actually just posted my my review of that on the threads if you want to actually look at it. But yeah, Borderlands. You can see they did not know what they wanted to do with the Borderlands series just by playing it. Someone posted again the thread some old trailers, and it just showed like the whole gritty why it was his, and you could just see it with how everything's designed, and then the story is just a bit of a mess, really. Well, it's not theirs, really. It's incoherent. It sometimes has these funny moments, and sometimes it gets a bit dark for no reason. It doesn't feel consistent. It's not the same type of thing like Disco Elysium, where it can actually merge the dark and humorous together. I will say that it did, at least in terms of start off, get the main gameplay loop down quite well. Once you get the element attack moves in your weapons, it starts opening up in how good the game can be.
Yeah.
And yeah, but
I was gonna say it's definitely a game that is like, because like I've also kind of stupidly played through them all on my own too, and like really it's meant to be played co-op, right? Like it's just So yeah, I get what you're saying. Like I do think it's curious to hear you talking about the first one, because it's been so long since I've even touched that first one. Like I don't even really remember what that one's like.
It's nothing to come home by. Borderlands 2 is a much better. They significantly improved on it in the second game. Everything's improved on that game. I haven't played any of the other ones. I just played Borderlands 2 with my mate. But I am playing through this one solo because I've only gotten the PS3. And my mate does not have a PS3, and also I don't think the servers are on anymore. So
yeah, I highly doubt the servers are online.
Yeah. Like, just play by myself.
No, I don't know. They might be. Who knows? But
I
think
I
PS3
tried.
went to-
I tried to get on, and there was no one playing it, so I don't think they're on.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's interesting, that series, like, personally at least, I think 2, and even the pre-sequel, I think the pre-sequel is quite good. 3, I think, just suffers from a bit of bloat. Like, it's gone on for so long now that, like, it is technically very good. Like, all, like gameplay-wise, it's quite good. It's just that kind of been around the block too many times at that point, you know?
Yeah, it's getting saturated and boring, basically. Yeah.
And you see that in reviews of Tiny Tina, where a lot of people say like it's competent, but it needs to do more to match up to what else is available now.
Yeah.
You know, if this came out when Borderlands 2 came out, it'd be an 11 out of 10, but that just isn't, not necessarily it isn't enough, but it isn't enough.
And I'll have to say that out of all the Borderlands games, Tales of the Borderlands is the best.
I do like
Which
Tales.
is saying something. Yeah.
I haven't
It's
tried the new
so
one
funny.
yet.
I've heard it's not good. I don't know either, but
I put that down on my fancy critic, and it's giving me negative points.
Oof.
Just so you know. Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, that's what happens when you think you can make something that another company did. You know, like, I mean, they're like, yeah, we can do it ourselves. And I was like, actually, I think Telltale might have known what they were doing.
Yeah, I should have done a bit better research on that. I thought, oh, maybe some Telltale people are doing it because they had the game, but no, it was just a Gearbox.
I mean, it's a
And they
fair,
don't have the same humor.
like, it could have been great, right? Like, you never know.
Yeah.
It could have been. Like, all signs seem to point to it being, like, similar, but didn't
Yeah.
succeed. What about the Zombie Island, though? I remember liking Zombie Island quite a bit.
Oh, yeah, I have some complaints about it, but you can start seeing the humor getting in. They are starting to actually figure out what they want the Borderlands series being at. They start with a lot of humor with the meta stuff, like especially considering that they use Dr. Zed thing with just a big, huge mustache and just said, oh, it's a different character. And it's like, oh, you might think it's Dr. Zed. No, it's a completely different character. He just has a huge mustache for no reason. But, and then, it actually changes up the gameplay a bit because of the zombies. So, yeah, it works out quite well. There's a lot of meta humor going on about as well. And they start actually putting in a lot more story beats into the game. Yeah. Sorry, I was reading that. Oh, I'll skip that. And there was also I do remember there's like 2 quests where you have to wait for something to come to you. And you get all this chatter on saying, oh, why it's taking too long? Like, oh, I forgot to actually put in this into this. Fill out order form 1663 to actually get you the escape hatch. And you sat there just shooting zombies until you get through, and they just keep hearing the chatter. Oh, silly me. Like, oh.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
They do a good job with the capitalist bureaucracy type stuff within these games are like very fun.
Yeah. It's really good. It can be really good, but I did not. I scored Borderlands 6 and I scored Dr. Ned 6 as well. 2 big issues I have: the zombies, they overstay their welcome. In the end, you just end up shooting the same things over and over again. Not really much point off that. You don't get a lot of things. It reuses some assets a bit too much as well. So there's one area when you have to figure out where you actually, spoilers for those who don't know, you figure out that Dr. Ned is evil. Shock. But that you'll find that out in the Old Haven section of the base games, so they just basically reuse a whole level. They'll do. Which is just not very good, I thought, in that point. And then there's also the Brains quest line. In terms of my gameplay style, I think most people notice if they actually look at, have heard me talk on the forums about how long games are. Like, it took me 200 hours to complete Odyssey because I was doing everything. Brains is the one thing which I've skipped. Because what's the bloody point in that? The idea of brains is you have to collect brains from the zombies, which is fair enough, I thought, because the brains were being dropped even before you pick the brains up. You just then go find the person, and I thought, oh, just find the person, give them the brains, and then just get the quest lines. Nope, you have to get the quest first, then collect the brains. Then to go back to him, and then collect the brains again. Keep doing that. It goes in, I checked, it goes from 10 brains, 25 brains, 50 brains, 100 brains, 250 brains. That's just a waste of fucking time. So, if I might have been more willing to forgive it if the brains, which I actually been collecting throughout the whole DLC, can counter to it, but no, you have to actually pick up the quest line to actually make it count. So, no point.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of busy work.
Yes, it is. It's one of those ones which is like no point to you. maybe I can get myself an achievement from it. But wow, achievement! I'm not going to be able to get a platinum trophy because I can't get all the multiplayer ones as well. So what's the point?
Man, remember when people cared about achievements? That was wild.
I remember. You remember?
Yeah, I remember.
Well, why don't we move on then to your retired, which you've got one. I retired this game's bigger brother last week, so I like to hear why you retired this one.
Yeah, this one. I'll be honest. I'll probably come back to it. It's just that I haven't played it for a while, and I just don't mean to retire because I'm not going to pick up until I finish the Borderlands series now. But this is Crusader Kings 2. Yeah, it's a lot of sitting and waiting though. That's the biggest problem with this game.
Yeah, sure is.
Oh, I missed last week. I don't know what you said about Crusader Kings 3, but I will admit it's really
Pretty much
good.
that, to be honest.
Yeah. You spit around. Going to what these type of games are when we get into my playing, because I got quite a few of those. I do like those kind of games because I do other things. But I did enjoy it, but like I said, I'm just busy with other games instead. It does. You do get a lot of political intrigue, but it can be very complicated and confusing, and it's not very good at actually explaining things. But to be fair, I don't know how could you, because it does have the tutorial and tells you how to do these things, but it doesn't tell you what to do with it. Basically, just so everyone knows, it's basically a game about political intrigue in the medieval times. You have to actually keep your kingdom in check, increase the size of it, get as much money as you possibly can, get as much integrity, piety, and then that goes up to your accumulated score. There's no real end goal. I guess is to actually grow your kingdom as much as you possibly can, but basically just get as much points as you possibly can. I have had I do remember this. I have actually played Crusader Kings 3, and I do remember there's like these different little stories which it builds up, which you actually from your own things. Like in Crusader Kings 3, I played in the free weekend, and I played as the tutorial just so I can understand it. And during that, my son decided to rampage through my kingdom, starting duels, just for the sake of it, just to show his bravado. So people came to me and asked me, "Please make him stop," and I was like, "I will make him stop. I will duel him." He beat me the fuck up. But so he just kept going around, just killing people. Well, just going on duels, just showing off how hard and mighty he is, until he got poisoned. I figured out who poisoned him, and then I fought him in the duel until he was killed, basically. So I got my honor back by just killing him off. But yeah, in the end, I lost my hair, so that wasn't very good.
You mean your in-game son, don't you?
Yes.
I spent the first minute of that thinking you were like beating up your toddler. That.
Oh my god! Oh yeah, sure. I give him my not imaginary toddler, little blood, and he just goes around slapping people for duels.
No, I had just a picture of him at your computer, and then you saw the save, and then like I don't know, like a Stewie Peter Griffin situation just unfolded in my head. Okay, right, yeah, in-game son, carried on. Wow. Huh.
But that is Crusader Kings 3. The 2 one, basically, I was cheeky. I actually started the game as, for those who didn't know the English history, I started as King Ethel, the King of Wessex, before, well, basically King Alfred the Great. He died, so I just got a son, and now I'm playing the son. But during that, I actually married a daughter from a chieftain over in the island. And using that, I was able to claim de jure on the kingdom of, I think it's the south of Ireland. I can't remember what the name of that one is. While they were going through a civil war, so I just basically claimed it while they go through a civil war and just took over. During that time, though, one of my vassals there were demanding independence. So I did two things. I sent my spy master to scheme to blackmail him to stop his attempts of independence, and I also started a plot to kill him. Both succeeded. So in the end, though, I did not realize this, and because he died, the vassals, those kingdoms, did not go to me. they went to a different heir apparent, which was basically the Northern Island Kingdom. So I had to actually fight to get them back. During that time, I then got a warning that Norway's planning to invade. And then a upstart non-land-owning claimant in Wales decided he owns that land as well. So I had started a war, pulled out all my money just to pay for this war, and then I was actually told to prepare for an invasion by Norway. That was
Basically, you were
frightening.
fucked.
Yep, pretty much.
It sounded like I got fucked, but I was not. Because he actually said he's going to prepare an invasion of England. The kingdom above me, I was only the kingdom of Wessex. England decided they wanted to stop this invasion, so they requested to join me in preparing for the defense of this invasion. I then used them